I never expected moving apartments would change my life. I figured it would be just like any other move, stressful, exhausting, and ultimately boring once the dust settled. But that was before I met him. It all started when I moved into this older apartment complex on the east side of the city. Cheap rent, decent location, nothing fancy. The kind of place where people mostly kept to themselves, which was fine by me. I wasn't exactly looking for friends, just needed a place to crash that didn't eat half my paycheck. My new place was on the second floor, Unit 2B, a tiny one-bedroom with creaky floors and an ancient oven that groaned whenever I tried to use it. But it was mine. Or at least, mine for as long as I could keep paying rent. The day I moved in, I was hauling the last of my boxes up the stairs when I heard someone behind me. "You need a hand with that?" I turned around, nearly tripping over my own feet. Standing at the top of the landing was a guy, maybe mid-20s, tall, broad-shouldered, with messy dark hair and a jawline that could cut glass. He was wearing a simple white tank top and basketball shorts, and yeah, it was instantly obvious he worked out. No, I'm good," I stammered, shifting the box in my arms. "But thanks," he smiled, easy and confident. "You're moving into 2B, right?" "Yeah." "Cool. I'm in 2A. I'm Ethan." He held out his hand. I shifted the box to one arm and shook it. "Nick, nice to meet you." His grip was warm, firm, but not overbearing. Just right. "You new to the city?" he asked, leaning casually against the railing. "Kind of. Lived across town before. Needed something cheaper." "Yeah, this place isn't much," he said with a laugh. "But the walls are thick enough. You won't hear me unless I'm blasting music." I smiled, relieved he didn't seem like the type to be throwing parties every weekend. "Good to know. Anyway," Ethan continued, pushing off the railing, "if you need anything, knock. Or if you ever get bored, I'm usually around." "Appreciate it," I said. He gave me a little nod and disappeared into his apartment. I stood there for a second longer than I probably should have, heart beating faster than it had any right to. I didn't think much of it at first. He was just being neighborly, friendly. But that first encounter turned into passing conversations in the hallway. Then those conversations turned into sharing beers on the stoop on Friday nights. Then it was cooking dinner together when one of us was too lazy to cook solo. It felt easy, natural, like we'd known each other for years instead of a few weeks. But somewhere along the line, it started to shift. The way he looked at me lingered a little too long. The way his shoulder would brush mine when we sat on the couch, neither of us moving away. The playful way he'd ruffle my hair even though I pretended to hate it. And then came the night everything changed. It was a stupidly hot Saturday. The AC in the building had been busted all day, and Ethan knocked on my door with 2 beers in hand, shirtless, his skin glistening from the heat. "Want to hang out?" he asked, holding up the beers. "I've got an extra fan in my place." I should have said no. I should have kept it casual, kept my distance. But instead I stepped aside, waved him in, and said, "Yeah, sure." Ethan plopped down on my worn-out couch like he owned the place, cracking open his beer and handing me the other. His skin was still damp from either a shower or just the relentless heat. Either way, I was trying very hard not to look, or at least not look. "Your couch is comfier than mine," he said, stretching his long legs out so his bare foot nudged against my ankle. Not in a big way, just a subtle touch, but it made something low in my stomach flip. "Doubt it," I smirked, taking a sip. "This thing feels like sitting on cardboard wrapped in regret." Ethan laughed. "Nah, you gotta give it credit. It's nostalgic. Reminds me of the couch my parents had growing up. Same mysterious stains," I snorted. "That's comforting, thanks." We sat there, half watching some dumb action movie on Netflix. The kind where cars explode every 5 minutes for absolutely no reason. Conversation flowed easy, like it always did. Jokes, random stories from work. He worked construction, mostly doing remodeling jobs. I did freelance photography, so our schedules were weird but flexible. At some point, his arm ended up draped along the back of the couch. Casual, like it was no big deal. But it put his fingers right behind my neck, barely grazing. I told myself I was imagining it. Man, it's way too hot for this, he muttered, leaning his head back, exposing the curve of his throat. His chest rose and fell, all smooth lines and muscle, his abs catching the soft glow from the TV. I tried not to stare. Failed. Yeah, I agreed, swallowing. Total sauna. Ethan shifted, moving closer. His thigh pressed against mine now, warm, firm, and unmistakably intentional. He didn't pull away. Neither did I. There was this pause, like the air between us went thicker, heavier, like we both suddenly became aware of how close we were, how easy it would be to tilt my head, close the gap. His gaze flicked to my mouth, just for a second, but it was enough. You ever think about... His voice trailed off and he gave this small, nervous laugh. Never mind. What? I asked, forcing my voice to stay steady. Think about what? Ethan exhaled through his nose, ran a hand through his messy hair. Nah, forget it. Dumb. Come on, I pressed, nudging his knee with mine. You can't drop that and not finish. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned to look at me fully, searching my face like he was looking for permission. Or an excuse. Have you ever wondered? His voice was lower now, almost rough. What it'd be like with a guy? Silence. My heart stopped. My beer, forgotten, started sweating on the coffee table. Because I've been thinking about it, Ethan admitted, his fingers flexing against the couch cushion behind me. Lately. A lot more than I probably should. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. My brain short-circuited. Was he serious? Was this a joke? A test? I'm not drunk, he added quickly, like reading my mind. I'm not messing with you. I don't even know what's going on in my head lately. Just when I'm around you. His knee pressed harder against mine. It's different. I stared at him, heart pounding loud enough that I was sure he could hear it. Ethan, my voice cracked. Are you saying you? He cut me off. Not with words, but by closing the last few inches between us. His hand slid to the back of my neck, tentative but firm. And then his lips were on mine. Warm, unsure, but real. I froze for half a second. Then, I kissed him back. And just like that, whatever line had been between us shattered. I don't know what I expected kissing Ethan to feel like. Awkward, maybe. Hesitant. Something we'd both pull away from, laugh off, pretend hadn't happened. But it wasn't any of that. The second his lips met mine, something clicked. Like the tension that had been building for weeks, maybe months, finally snapped. And suddenly there was nothing left to hold back. His hand tightened at the back of my neck, pulling me in like he wasn't sure if he was supposed to be doing this, but couldn't help it either way. His lips were softer than I'd imagined, a little rough from the dry summer air, but warm, real, and insistent. I kissed him back, my hands gripping his sides, fingers brushing skin where his tank top rode up. He made this sound, a low hum in his throat, that sent a shiver down my spine. But then, as suddenly as it started, he pulled back, breathless, wide-eyed. Shit, he muttered, scrubbing a hand over his face. I didn't mean to. I mean, I did, but Ethan, my voice was barely above a whisper. It's okay. No, it's not. No, wait. I mean, yeah, it is, but... Dude, he stood, pacing a tight line in front of the coffee table, dragging his fingers through his hair over and over. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. I stayed sitting, heart hammering, watching him unravel. You kissed me, Ethan. Yeah, he said, practically groaning. I know, and you didn't hate it. He stopped, turned to look at me, jaw working like he was chewing on words that refused to form. No, he said finally. No, I didn't. There was a long beat of silence between us. The only sound was the soft whir of the fan and the muffled explosions from the forgotten movie still playing. Sit down, I said gently, patting the couch. He hesitated but dropped back down, hands clasped between his knees, staring at the floor like it held the answers to the universe. I nudged his leg with mine. Hey, you're freaking out. No shit, he muttered, letting out a sharp breath. I don't get it. I've never thought about this. Not like, okay, maybe a little. I don't know. But not like this. Not until me? I asked, careful, cautious. Ethan finally looked at me. Really looked. His blue eyes were softer now, confused, but honest. Yeah, he admitted, until you. The weight of that settled over both of us. Heavy, electric, terrifying. And yet, not bad at all. I leaned back, letting out a shaky breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Ethan, look, you don't have to figure it all out right now. His brow furrowed. But, I'm serious. We don't have to slap a label on it, or make it complicated. I paused, chewing on my bottom lip. But I'm not gonna pretend that didn't happen. I'm not gonna pretend I don't want it to happen again. He blinked, caught off guard. You do? Yeah, I said softly. I do. Ethan let out this breath, half a laugh, half a sigh of relief, and slumped back against the couch, running his hands down his face. Jesus. You have no idea how scary, but kinda good it feels hearing that. I smiled, feeling something warm spread through my chest. Yeah, I think I do. We sat there for a moment, the storm between us calming into something quieter, but no less intense. Then, without another word, Ethan shifted closer again, his knee brushing mine. So, he started, voice rough. If I wanted to try that again, you wouldn't hate it? My heart practically skipped out of my chest. No, I said, voice barely a whisper. Not even a little. And this time, when he kissed me, there was no hesitation. No second guessing. Just two guys, tangled up in a mess of feelings neither of us saw coming. But neither of us wanted to stop. The second kiss wasn't like the first. It was hungrier. Less careful. Like now that the seal had broken, neither of us knew how to stop. Ethan's hands slid to my jaw, thumbs brushing my cheeks as his lips pressed against mine, warm and demanding. I tangled my fingers in the hem of his tank top, gripping it like an anchor, like if I let go, I'd float right out of reality. His knee shifted, slotting between mine, and suddenly our bodies weren't just close, they were flush. His chest against mine, his hands gripping my sides like he didn't know if he wanted to pull me closer or push me away but was leaning toward the former. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing like we'd run a marathon. Ethan leaned his forehead against mine, eyes closed. This is insane. Yeah, I agreed, voice hoarse. But does it feel wrong? He didn't answer right away. His hand slid down to rest on my thigh, fingers tightening like he needed the contact to ground himself. No, he said finally, quietly. That's what's freaking me out. It doesn't feel wrong at all. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Same. There was a pause, but it wasn't awkward. More like both of us were mentally piecing together how we even got here. Did you? Ethan started, then stopped, shaking his head like he was mad at himself. Did you ever, before this, did you think about... He didn't finish the sentence, but I knew exactly what he meant. I laughed under my breath. Yeah, man, I did. More than I probably should have. He blinked, startled. Wait, really? Dude, you walk around here shirtless half the time. You think I wouldn't notice? A flush crept up his neck. Shit. I don't know. I didn't think it mattered. Well, turns out it kinda did. Ethan scrubbed a hand through his hair, grinning despite himself. Okay. Wow. I nudged his shoulder. You good? You good? Yeah, I think so. Just, I don't know, processing. Fair. For a second, we just sat there, grinning like idiots, trying to pretend the air between us wasn't still crackling with something electric. Then Ethan's face shifted. A flicker of nervousness crossed it. Hey, this doesn't, mess things up, does it? I looked at him, at the guy who'd been my neighbor, then my roommate, and now, something I didn't even have words for yet. No, I said, honest. Not unless you want it to. He nodded slowly, processing that, and then gave this little laugh, shaking his head. God, you have no idea how relieved I am to hear that, I smiled. Yeah, I think I kinda do. His fingers tightened on my thigh. So, what now? I exhaled, leaning back, pulling him with me until we were both stretched out on the couch, his head resting against my shoulder like it was the most natural thing in the world. We figure it out, I said softly. No rush, no pressure. He shifted, tucking himself closer. Yeah, I like that. For the first time in a long time, everything felt right. Complicated, yeah. Messy? Definitely. But right. The couch wasn't meant for two grown men to be stretched out on, but neither of us seemed to care. Ethan's head rested against my shoulder, his legs tangled with mine, and for the first time since I'd moved into this place, the silence between us wasn't awkward. It was comforting. I could feel his breath, steady and warm against my collarbone. Every now and then, he'd shift, his fingers absently brushing my knee or tracing patterns on the inside of my arm like he didn't even realize he was doing it. And if I was being honest, I didn't want him to stop. So, Ethan's voice broke the quiet, soft and uncertain. What does this mean? I turned my head slightly, catching the way his lashes flickered as he glanced up at me. Mean like us? Yeah, I sighed, running a hand through his hair. Something I'd always wanted to do, but never let myself before. It was softer than I expected. I don't know, I didn't think this was ever gonna be a conversation we'd have. Yeah, same. He shifted again, propping himself up on one elbow so he could look me in the eye. I meant what I said earlier, about thinking about it, about you. I didn't plan it, didn't even get it at first. Just, lately, being around you feels different. My pulse skipped. Different how? Ethan bit his lip like he wasn't sure if he should say it. Like, I catch myself looking at you, noticing stuff I shouldn't. The way you smile when you're editing your photos. The way you hum when you cook. Hell, even the way you leave your shoes by the door like it's gonna drive me insane. But it doesn't. He paused, raking his fingers through his hair. I don't know what it is, but it's you. It's always you. I stared at him, completely stunned. My throat tightened, and for a second, I couldn't even breathe. Ethan. And before you say anything, he cut in quickly. I'm not saying I've suddenly figured myself out. I don't know if I'm into guys. I've never even thought about it before. But I know I'm into you. For a second, I couldn't even speak. My mouth opened, then closed. All the smart things I could have said completely vanished from my brain. So instead, I leaned forward, cupped his jaw, and kissed him again. This one was slower, softer, less frantic than before. Like we were both realizing this wasn't just some impulsive thing. This was something. When we finally pulled back, his forehead rested against mine, both of us smiling like absolute idiots. Okay, I said, breathless. So, what now? Ethan chuckled. I don't know, but I don't want to stop. Whatever this is, I want to figure it out. With you. Yeah, I agreed, running my thumb over the stubble on his jaw. Me too. There was a pause, then he grinned, mischievous. So, does this mean I can finally tell people you're the reason I never bring dates home? I laughed. You better not. Yet. Yet? His eyebrows shot up. I shrugged, teasing. Well, gotta give the neighbors something to gossip about eventually. Ethan laughed, shaking his head, then tackled me back against the couch, kissing me again. And for the first time since moving here, it felt like home. The next few days felt surreal. Nothing technically changed. We still did all the same things. Shared groceries, argued over who left dishes in the sink, binge-watched terrible reality TV late into the night. But everything felt different. Like the air between us was charged now. Like we both knew there was a line we'd crossed. And there was no going back. It was little things at first. The way Ethan's hand would linger on the small of my back when we passed in the kitchen. How he'd casually brush my hair out of my face when we sat side by side scrolling TikTok on his phone. The way he started calling me man less and dude not at all, replacing it with soft hey or just my name, like it suddenly meant something more. And the touches. God, the touches. Always so casual on the surface but loaded underneath. A knee pressed against mine under the table. A thumb absently tracing circles over the back of my hand while we watched a movie. Him curling into me when we crashed on the couch after dinner. If anyone had seen us, they probably wouldn't think much of it. Just two close roommates, maybe a little affectionate. But we knew better. The third night after, well, everything, I found him in the kitchen making grilled cheese at almost midnight. He stood there, shirtless, in a pair of black gym shorts, humming to himself, completely oblivious to the fact that he looked unfairly good, doing absolutely nothing. You're gonna burn that, I said, leaning against the doorframe. Ethan glanced over his shoulder, grinning. Nah. Perfectly golden, you just lack culinary vision. I walked over, standing behind him, close enough that my chest brushed his back. Pretty sure last time your culinary vision involved nearly setting the toaster on fire. That was one time, he laughed, nudging me with his elbow but not stepping away. If anything, he leaned back slightly into me. I reached around him, snagging a slice of cheese from the counter and popped it in my mouth. I'm just saying, your kitchen track record isn't great. Ethan set the spatula down, then turned, and before I could react, his arms were around my waist. I like it when you get mouthy, he murmured, leaning in until our noses almost touched. My breath hitched. Oh, do you now? Yeah. His hands tightened on my hips. Kinda turns me on. I swallowed, pulse racing. Ethan? He dipped his head, kissed me slow, so slow, like we had all the time in the world. His lips moved against mine with this lazy confidence, like he wasn't even thinking about it anymore, like it was just what we did now. When we finally broke apart, both of us slightly breathless, he rested his forehead against mine. I don't know what we're doing, he admitted softly. I don't want to stop. Same, I whispered, tracing my fingers over the planes of his back. Same. Does it freak you out? He asked, so quiet like it was the thing keeping him up at night. I shook my head. Not as much as it should. Good, he breathed. Because this feels really damn good. He kissed me again, slow and deep, right there in the middle of our crappy apartment kitchen, grilled cheese forgotten, the smell of butter filling the air. And in that moment, it hit me, this wasn't some one-time thing. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't curiosity. This was us. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight, filtering through my bedroom blinds, and an arm slung heavy across my waist. For a second, my half-asleep brain short-circuited. Then everything from last night came rushing back. The grilled cheese, the kisses in the kitchen, Ethan practically dragging me to bed after pretending we were just gonna watch one more episode. I turned slightly, careful not to wake him. Ethan was sprawled across half my bed, one leg tangled with mine, his face soft in sleep, mouth slightly open. His dark hair was a mess, his chest rising and falling in this steady rhythm that was way too peaceful for someone who'd literally flipped both our worlds upside down less than 12 hours ago. And damn it if my heart didn't squeeze in my chest. I was in trouble. I mean, this wasn't just messing around. It didn't feel like some experimental phase or a drunken mistake. No, this felt terrifyingly real. I brushed a thumb gently across the back of his hand where it rested on my stomach, just thinking, how the hell did we go from roommates to this? And what even was this? Dating? Hooking up? Something in between? Something more? I didn't have answers. But I knew one thing for sure. I didn't want to go back to pretending nothing was happening between us. Ethan stirred, fingers flexing against my side before his eyes blinked open, bleary and confused for half a second, then softening the instant they met mine. "Mornin'," he rasped, voice thick with sleep. "Hey." My voice came out quieter than I meant it to. He stretched, arm tightening around me as he yawned. "Man, forgot how bright your room gets." "Yeah, the blinds suck," he hummed, nuzzling his face into my shoulder like it was the most normal thing in the world. "You comfy?" "Yeah," I admitted. "Weirdly." "Good." His hand slid absently along my side, fingers tracing lines over the fabric of my t-shirt. "Don't feel like moving." "Me neither." Silence again. But it wasn't tense. It was warm. "Hey," Ethan murmured after a while, his voice quieter now. "Last night," my stomach clenched. "Yeah." He pulled back slightly, enough to look me in the eyes, his brows knit together, serious. "I meant it. I wasn't playing around. I wasn't confused. I don't know what this makes me. I don't have a label. But I know I like this. I know I like you." I blinked, throat tightening. Yeah, same." A grin tugged at his lips. "Good. Just needed to say it. You know, before I freak myself out again." I laughed softly. "Fair." Then his expression shifted, more serious. "You okay with this? With us?" I let my fingers trail along his forearm, steady and certain. "Yeah, I'm okay with it. Are you?" Ethan nodded. "Yeah, I really am." We lay there for a while longer, tangled together in this little bubble we'd accidentally built, like the outside world didn't exist. But eventually, the real world did intrude. My phone buzzed with work emails. Ethan's phone started blowing up with texts from his boss. We groaned, untangling, reluctantly climbing out of bed. As he pulled on his shorts, he glanced over his shoulder. "So, we're still grabbing tacos later, right?" I blinked, surprised by the normalcy of it. "Yeah, totally." He grinned. "Cool. Just checking." As he walked back to his room, I realized something simple, something stupidly obvious. Ethan wasn't just my roommate anymore. He was something a whole lot more. The rest of that day felt weirdly normal. Ethan and I went about our usual routines. He headed off to work for a half-day job site visit. I holed up at my computer editing photos for a client. But beneath the normal, beneath the ordinary, was this electric undercurrent neither of us even tried to deny anymore. Every time he walked past my desk, his hand would brush my shoulder. When I went to grab water from the kitchen, he'd pull me close by the waist for no reason other than because he could. This wasn't some awkward tiptoe around it situation anymore. It was us now. Later that evening, we headed out for tacos like we'd planned, sitting side by side in the booth instead of across from each other, something we'd never done before. I caught the way Ethan's knee bumped mine under the table and didn't move. Neither did he. "So," he said between bites of his third taco, glancing at me with this little sideways grin, "do we tell people? Or what?" I chewed slowly, thinking. Honestly, I don't care if anyone knows. But no pressure. He nodded, wiping his mouth with a napkin. Yeah, me neither. I mean, maybe we don't start with, like, putting it on Instagram or whatever. I snorted. Yeah, no need to launch the relationship announcement yet. Ethan grinned. But like, we don't have to hide either. Right? I looked at him. Really looked. His messy hair, the tiny scar on his eyebrow I'd never noticed until now, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. The guy I'd lived next to. Shared a couch with. Shared a life with, in some weird way. Even before this started. Right, I said softly. No hiding. The smile he gave me in return was something else. Something real. Something ours. When we got back home, neither of us bothered with separate rooms. We curled up on the couch, some random movie playing in the background while Ethan's head rested against my chest, his hand lazily tracing patterns on my thigh. At one point, he tilted his head back, looked up at me, and asked, "Did you ever think, when we first met, that we'd end up here?" I laughed, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. Not in a million years. Yeah, he smiled, closing his eyes as he settled against me again. Me neither. But I'm glad we did. Yeah, Ethan whispered, voice soft, full of something honest and warm. Me too. And that's how it happened. I moved in thinking I was just getting a roommate. And I ended up finding something I didn't even realize I was missing. Something real. Something like love.